This video is brought to you by motion sickness, the Jurassic time period, and my impending obesity. Please enjoy. Hey GlamFam, Linwood here, and today we're going to be talking about heat damage and how it impacts your hair, the difference between it and heat training, and all of the fun stuff in between. If you haven't guessed, I'm walking through the neighborhood because, well, honey, this corona pounds have hit my stomach and I look like I'm a child, so we need to fix that ASAP, and we're just gonna multitask on this one. Plus my editing software is moving super slow, so we're working with the phone today. So someone recently asked me the difference between heat damage and heat training, and I thought it was a really good question that warranted me doing a video. Now, for those who have never heard, the term heat training has been used pretty frequently in the industry, and it's often used as a mode of like saying that your hair easily responds to heat in terms of like, let's say you straighten it or you blow it out and it easily responds. It's no longer kicking back as much, but you still haven't lost your curl pattern, so to speak. Whereas with heat damage, it usually looks a lot like relaxer, things like that. So people get this idea of heat damage and heat training being two totally different principles, and in some respect they are, but they are also of the same nature. So let's dive into that a little bit more. So what am I telling you? I'm telling you that heat damage is the same thing as heat training. The difference is the level of intensity. So with heat damage, you have done a lot more heat or a lot more frequent use of heat, and it has done more damage to the fabric of the hair. It's broken down the disulfide bonds of the hair quite a bit more. Whereas with heat training, it's still heat damage, but it's at a lesser degree, to where when you shampoo your hair, you condition it, things like that, your curls bounce back so much so to where it's not even obvious that there's any degree of heat damage. This is a mild instance of heat damage, and usually you're still keeping that hair conditioned and things like that to where you can still see enough of your natural curl popping back. You're also not doing this like every day, every other day. Let's get some light, things like that. So that's a huge difference there. Child, we need a water break. The thirst is real. It's honestly really easy to move between heat training and heat damage, especially if you're working with someone that doesn't really know well what they're doing, because they're using a temperature that's too high, or they're using heat entirely too frequently on their hair, and next thing you know, it leads to them having issues with their hair no longer being as curly as it once was, or in even worse cases, burning off, becoming completely limp and lifeless because you've broken down the disulfide bonds, which is the same bonds that get broken down and converted essentially during a relaxer or a permanent wave service, texturizers too. So these are the same things that are being broken. It's impacting the same bonds. That's why heat damage and heat training are literally the same thing. It's just a different level of intensity. It's kind of like pleasure and pain. They're the same sensation, but pleasure can easily turn into pain if you get a little too crazy with it, okay? So I'll just let your imagination run wherever with that. What can you do to avoid heat damage? Well, for firstliest, what you can do is go ahead and turn down your iron or use it less frequently. You can use heat protectants, things like that, but I'm not a huge fan of heat protectants, primarily because I don't feel like they're all that effective. And on top of that, I find that a lot of times people see heat protectant and they have this tendency to just turn the iron up to all hell breaking loose and feel like that's an acceptable temperature, when truth be told, it's really, really not. So nonetheless, I don't recommend using a heat protectant if that's your mentality. A little bit of a heat protectant, if it's alcohol free, can be fine for the hair. But one of the best things that you can do for that hair is to deep condition before and after heat applications. That doesn't mean like re-wet your hair, but basically like making sure your hair is well conditioned before the treatment, and then when it's time to shampoo again, going ahead and deep conditioning again there. Now you want to make sure you utilizing moisture and protein, because those are both things that are being lost during heat treatment on that hair. Does that make sense? Now the other piece of the puzzle here is ensuring that you are utilizing a method of wrapping the hair or trying to utilize heat-free stylings more frequently, that you're not applying direct heat to your hair on a daily basis, things like that. So for instance, if you're doing a silk press, the most important thing that you can do is a proper blowout beforehand. So the smoother you can get your blow dry style or your blow dry, the better your hair is going to stay straight, and the less direct heat it's going to need from a pressing service, things like that. So these are things to discuss with a stylist or to think about when you're doing your own hair. That knowing whether your hair is fine, medium, or coarse helps out as well, because then you're selecting a temperature that goes along with the texture of your hair. If you don't know what your texture is, then I would suggest starting with a lesser temperature than you think you need and gradually work your way up until you see your hair respond in a manner to where it's easy to manipulate with heat. Now, I don't mean like, you know, if you put it on 450 degrees, of course, your hair is going to get straight, like, or get curl, whatever the case may be. But if you put it on 450 degrees and your hair is fine, what hair? Where? Okay, so these are things to discuss. Nonetheless, yeah, you should just keep that up. For all those who have been asking, baldness where? How are you bald, Linwood? This is my twist out on day one. Look at the see-throughness. We's bald-headed on this channel, but that's okay, because, you know, the Lord is good, and I'm going to fluff this later, so see how all that goes. For all those who are wondering what that noise is in the background, those are cicadas. If you don't live in the country, you probably don't know about them, but we have a whole lot of them around here, so I keep trying to tell y'all I'm from the South. Anyway, basically, that's it when it comes down to heat training versus heat damage. I will just say if you're using heat, regardless of what you're doing with it, utilize it a little less, and just be careful about the way that you use it. It's really important because often when you do heat damage, it's very difficult to get that hair to bounce back. You can do a protein treatment and see a little bit of improvement, but once that hair has lost its curl, baby, it's like growing out a relaxer or whatever the case may be. So just be careful. All right, so until next time, you guys, take care, God bless, and stay glam. You know I love you, boo, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.